If you want the short and sweet version, here it is. This is a game I recommend for those into walking simulators and sci-fi settings. If you want to know why I recommend it, stick around for the next 10 minutes tops and I'll tell you. Don't worry though, as there won't be spoilers. Anything I say here will have either shown up within the first 15 minutes of the game or be said in the Steam store page description. So, in Titan Station, you play as David, a systems operator. In fact, right at the beginning of the game, we see that his life is not going well. He has lots of issues plaguing him, such as crippling debt, something that is unfortunately all too common these days. However, what isn't common is how he dealt with his issues. Most of us cry ourselves to sleep, but this madman decided to just get a job at a space station and get the hell away from the Earth and onto a station connected to Saturn's moon, Titan. I mean, if you're gonna escape your problems, you can't half-ass escape, am I right? And in fact, half-assing things is not David's style in the slightest. See, throughout the game, you will receive plenty of instructions to accomplish, sometimes as part of your job, sometimes not, and you will spend most of your time in Titan Station going from point A to point B to accomplish the goals given to you. And if you're wondering who gives it to you, well, that's the thing. You're never entirely sure. The Steam store page says that you can meet and talk to others over the radio, but also asks who you can trust. And such is the situation for our main character. This is a very lonely game, but also not really. If you've played Firewatch, you know how this works. You always have someone one radio click away from you, but that's the company you'll have in your time within Titan Station. And honestly, I like that. Firewatch is a game that never left my mind even years after playing it. And while I can't be sure Titan Station will be the same case, I can say that it nails the radio communication. Your company on the radio feels real, and the banter and conversations can be pretty immersive. As for the gameplay itself, it's very basic. As I said, you go from point A to point B accomplishing goals, and while you can occasionally investigate some objects and chat to your radio company about them, such objects rarely showed up after the beginning of the game, which was a major bummer. Every time you get to your goal, you will be required to look around the place and either accomplish a mission or find something that leads you to your next destination. Most of the time, what you will be doing in these locations are puzzles. The Steam store page says that the game has few puzzles, easy, and parts of the story. I cannot highlight the easy parts enough. For a lot of them, you will be either looking for a password or going into cyberspace. Passwords are usually just written down somewhere in the room, so all you really have to do is look around. It's really no trouble getting this done. The cyberspace stuff is a little more tricky, but also easy. You basically have to link cubes labeled 1, 10, and 100 to their recipients. Sometimes, however, a recipient will be labeled 101 or 11, for example, which means you have to get the ends of two of the cube lines together to create a new cube type. This can all be a bit clunky to do at times, but it's not too hard to get the hang of it. And again, the solutions are all very easy. So as you can see, the gameplay is rather simple. It boils down to walking and solving simple puzzles, reading the occasional file in between. There isn't any sort of combat in the game either. What effectively this means is that this game lives and dies by its other elements, especially its story, as it hinges on them to carry the experience. And how are these elements, you ask? Well, I'm happy to say they absolutely did not disappoint me. The story is intriguing, to say the least. It's not extremely innovative, but I'm a sucker for the themes it talks about, so while it might be a bit of bias speaking, I genuinely enjoyed the story. What I can say about it without spoiling anything is that David fled the Earth to escape his problems and took up a job at the space station. However, as stated on the Steam page, his mundane work soon turns into a struggle for his very life as he makes a shocking discovery. All throughout this, he's talking to people on the radio, people he can't even know whether to trust or not. The entire story is built upon this mystery. Who's keeping you company? What is happening in the station? David wants answers to save his life, and it's up to you to get them. I will say, I'm not sure how I feel about the ending yet, as I just finished it a couple of hours ago and it went down a route that I tend to dislike in some other forms of media. So I'm still digesting it to know whether or not I think it was done right. But regardless, I still had a really good time with the mystery and intrigue that permeated the experience, so even if I do decide I wasn't a huge fan of the ending, I still won't think twice about recommending this game. For me, the journey was more than enough to earn it. I also already touched on this, but I really like the dialogue in Titan Station. And did I mention that it's voiced? And that the voice acting is actually good? Especially considering that this is a one-man project? Have a listen to a little bit of it.
I just read someone's journal.
David, how could you? Journals are very personal.
I know, I didn't know it was a journal when I picked it up.
I'm messing with you. Did it say anything exciting?
Sadly, no. Just depressing stuff. Don't want to be here, miss his family, and so on.
Yeah. Going away to work on a desolate space station for a couple of years. It isn't for everyone.
Outside of this, the sounds you hear are mostly ambient noises and footsteps, but occasionally you do get a great soundtrack. Again, here's an example. The graphics are also pretty nice. I understand, however, that this is a personal thing, so feel free to judge it yourself by what you've been seeing on camera. The environments aren't very varied. You'll often be just walking through corridors full of tubes, with the occasional bigger room tossed in the mix, which are usually your destinations. It's very reminiscent of what you usually see in space games and movies. While I did enjoy the experience, not everyone will. I think the main issues people might have are issues that people normally have with other walking simulators, namely how linear the experience is and how easy it is. The easiness of the puzzles was already explained, but the linearity comes in form of exploration itself. You always have a goal and you usually can't go anywhere that's not where you need to go. Even when you can, which happens more later on, it's pointless, as there's no extra interaction you can trigger with your radio companion. Or maybe there is and I just didn't find any, but trust me when I say I tried. And if you end up not liking the story, well, that's gonna suck, as it's the main counterpoint to the more basic gameplay. This is, however, something one can only find out by playing. There is, however, a plus side that must be mentioned to the linearity: the level design. The game doesn't have a map, and as such, it has to have excellent guidance to make up for that. I'm happy to say there are multiple arrows and signs always labeling where you're going, much like I imagine a real space station would be. Even though I couldn't access a map, I never really felt the need to. I actually only noticed that I didn't have a map during the middle of my playthrough, which lasted 3 hours. On a more nitpicky side, I do wish the game didn't have as many doors to unlock. Remember the linearity I said? Well, you're gated by your access cards level. Every time you open some of the doors, you have to insert your card and wait for it to be approved. It's a 2 or so second cutscene every time, and it made me very impatient, though I understand that's just a me problem. And another nitpick is the way the game gives you the history of the world in the beginning, via text on the loading screen. I wish the developer had found a way to integrate the explanations into the game's universe and not on a loading screen for the player, but oh well. It only happens in the beginning. All in all, Titan Station was a wonderful 3-hour experience that I was glad to play through. I know its linearity and easiness will both push away players, but as a fan of walking sims and a fan of the themes this game tackled, I had absolutely no problems with the things I mentioned. Plus, as I said, this was developed by one person, and it's a genuinely impressive effort. Though, that might be because this person, Joaquin Larson, has experience on various AAA games. On a side note, I would like to say special thank you to SV Prolivigi. I hope I pronounced that right, my friend. I'm so sorry if I didn't. I suck at pronouncing names. For the review copy of this game. I'll leave a link to his Steam curator on the description of the video. Please visit it. He does some incredible reviews that are both funny and informative. He's a great guy. And anyway, if you do end up getting Titan Station, let me know what you think, as I'm always down to talk. That aside, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe for more. I'll catch you hopefully on the next one. Bye bye!